Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode for my first year of tours. As my Christmas gift to you all, I'll be showing you the very best my home park has to offer. Welcome to Wild Africa. This incredible 50-acre complex transports you, literally, to the woodlands and savannas of Africa. It opened in 1999 and not only doubled the zoo size, but also put Binder Park on the national map for the first time. Themed as the fictional Zuri National Park, it was built to be a realistic, immersive trip to Africa. As we trek through the park's nearly mile-long trail, we'll hear lions roar, feed the world's tallest animal, and meet the zoo's oldest resident, as well as their youngest. Let's do this! Our journey begins all the way back in the main zoo as we pass under the Avenue of Flags, where you can find the flag of every African country flowing above you. Off to the right is a habitat that was first used as a temporary home for African painted dogs. It has been repurposed several times for dingoes, a very friendly southern ground hornbill, and most recently turned into a yard for African pygmy goats, where guests are able to feed them. Moving down a small hill, you arrive at the International Depot, where you can board the zebra-striped wilderness tram that will transport you to Wild Africa. Or, for those looking to get a little more exercise, there is also a roughly half-mile walking path. Either way you travel, you will eventually arrive at the African Village. Here, you can shop for souvenirs at the Zawadi Traders gift shop, or grab a bite to eat at the Kalahari Kitchen. But what always draws my attention is this view. The first look at the zoo's sprawling 18-acre multi-species savanna. Roaming the plains, you will currently find 10 species which can be found listed on these open guidebooks. We'll meet them in more detail later, so for now it's time to move on through the Zuri National Park headquarters and officially begin our journey through the park. The national park theming comes with a strong anti-poaching message, one piece of which is these elephant remains, somewhat hidden in the brush. Our next stop is the ranger station. Here you'll find a ranger jeep that often is actually full of bees, a pile of ivory that the rangers confiscated from poachers, and a unique giraffe telescope. There's also 2 huts that offer ground level viewing of the savanna, where you may be able to see some of its residents closer up. Back on the elevated boardwalk, you'll come to the Twiga Overlook, probably the most popular spot in the entire zoo. Up here, you can get yet another amazing view of the savanna and come face to face with the Reticulated Giraffe, who, for a small charge, guests can feed, creating a for sure memorable experience. The zoo's herd includes Rukia and Cece, the older ladies who have both been at the zoo since Wild Africa opened in 1999. Cece, who celebrated her 25th birthday this past summer, can easily be identified by her lighter color compared to the rest of the giraffes. She is a star participant at the feeding deck and usually the first giraffe to reach Twiga Overlook each morning. The herd also contains 2 males. Hulka, who was born here at Binder Park in 2014. You can identify him by a spot on his right shoulder that looks like a clock. He is the herd's best trainer, voluntarily participating in hoof trims and blood draws. In recent years, you would have seen Kumi, who was born at the Albuquerque Biopark in 2015 and came to Binder Park a few years later on a breeding recommendation. But after fulfilling his duty, he has now moved on to the Sedgwick County Zoo, while Sedgwick County's resident male Elliot came to Binder Park. So hopefully, starting next spring, guests will be able to meet Elliot at the Twiga deck. Moving up the path, we come to a set of glass viewing windows that look into a sloping hillside that originally held African painted dogs. The boardwalk rises again, giving a more complete view of the home for Cheetah's sisters Katie, Madison, and Mohini, who were born at the National Zoo and came to Binder Park in 2015. This trio can often be hard to spot as they spend their days lounging at the top of the hill, but I do have them to thank for one of my greatest photos. The cheetah is of course the world's fastest land animal, able to accelerate to reach speeds of 60 to 70 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. However, their sleek build does come at a cost, as they are no match for lions or other large African carnivores who often steal cheetah kills. Although it may not be obvious at first, their exhibit here does allow them to see onto the savanna, and according to the zoo's website, the sisters enjoy watching the savanna animals come onto exhibit each morning. Speaking of, across from them is our last look at the open plains, where it's finally time to meet the savanna's remaining inhabitants. First, there's 3 kinds of birds. The common ostrich, the largest bird in the world, who can reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. The Cinereous Vulture, with a wingspan reaching up to 7 feet. And then there's the very handsome Marabou Stork. According to an African legend, God ran out of parts while creating the creatures of Africa, so he decided to use the leftover bird pieces to create the Marabou Stork. Their unsightly appearance has won them a few nicknames, including the Undertaker Bird and the Nightmare Bird. After 21 years together, the zoo's longtime pair produced a single chick in 2020, a female who now lives at the Potawatomi Zoo. On to the mammals. The zoo has 2 subspecies of plain zebra. There's 4 of the more common Grant zebras, and living with them a single Damara Zebra, who can easily be identified as the largest individual and by the faded ghost stripes in between the more defined black ones. Zebras communicate using a variety of calls and facial expressions and can identify individuals by their striped patterns, which are unique to each zebra, just like a human's fingerprint. The savanna also features 4 kinds of antelope. The Bontebok of southern Africa. This species was once reduced to 17 remaining individuals in the 1930s, but through conservation efforts has recovered to have over 3,000 Bontebok in the wild today. There's the common Waterbuck, an East African native characterized by their shaggy brown fur and white rings on their rumps. While not exactly aquatic, they are heavily associated with water, hence their name. This is actually because they have a heavier water dependency than most antelope, and are thus rarely seen far from it. There's also the smaller, critically endangered Addra Gazelle that roams arid regions of Western Africa extending up into the Sahara. And finally, added in 2017, the largest herd on the savanna and my personal favorite, the Addax, another critically endangered desert-dwelling species from North Africa with fewer than 500 individuals left in the wild. As you continue up the path, you'll notice that the savanna actually extends a ways into the woods, which is our first sign that we're leaving the grasslands behind us and beginning our journey through the African woods. Our first stop is the mess tent. Here it appears the rangers have left their campsite abandoned, and it has now been taken over by monkeys. More specifically, you can get up close and personal with red-capped Mangabeys Lola and Kanzu. Listed as endangered as of 2019, this vibrant primate inhabits tropical forest along Africa's western coast. They get their name from the bright red coloration on top of their heads. While they may be just another monkey to many visitors, they are actually one of the complex's more unique species, since, at least in the US, they can only be seen at a handful of zoos around the country. These two can be quite rambunctious and are often seen playing with their favorite toys, sticks that they've picked up from the exhibit. Nearby is the Zamani school, where the zoo hosts overnight camps. And in the past, at this point, you would have passed through a small walk-through aviary, which featured weavers and other smaller birds. But it's been gone for a number of years now. The next section was originally an extended walk through the woods that was completely devoid of animal exhibits. Instead, it was the site of the Ranger Training Course that featured trivia and challenges aimed to test your suitability to become a ranger. While its removal did take away some of the complex's theming, I don't think anyone is complaining about the 2017 edition of the Chai Pride Plaza, which increased Wild Africa's number of large carnivores from 1 to 3. The left side, which you come to first, is viewable from glass windows at either end, as well as a section in the middle, and is home to the cunning African painted dog, often considered to be Africa's most successful hunters. Unfortunately, they are also one of the most endangered, with an estimated 6,600 remaining in the wild. Part of their hunting success comes from their ability to cooperate and work together as a team. In addition, the dog's uniquely patterned coats make it appear as though the pack is even larger than it really is, helping to confuse their intended target. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the painted dogs were already at the zoo, living temporarily outside of Wild Africa. A little over a year after moving into their new exhibit, female ghosts gave birth to a litter of 11 painted dog puppies, quickly making this one of the most popular places in the entire zoo. 4 years later, with the mother and almost all of the pups moving on to new homes, things are a little quieter around here, but hopefully there will be more painted dog puppies at Binder Park in the future. A 2018 interview with longtime director Greg Geis revealed that lions were part of the original plans for Wild Africa, but ended up getting cut. 18 years later, Battle Creek finally got their pride, with the arrival of male Enzi and sisters Salem and Shelby. Campaigning to bring lions to Binder Park began in 2014, with one local girl stepping up to make huge contributions to the campaign. Then, 11-year-old Yasmin had seen lions in the wild and wanted to bring them to Binder Park so that other kids would be able to experience seeing them as well. Her well-documented fundraising efforts included a climb for the lions, which saw her and her family scale Africa's tallest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro. Since the lions like to hang out towards the back of their exhibit, they are often best seen from inside the Chai Pride tour bus, one of the most unique elements of the entire Wild Africa complex. When I was here early one morning, I was able to capture the song of the lions. Followed by a response from one of the females. Lions have the loudest roar of all the big cats, and it may be heard from as far as 5 miles away. So if you're here in the morning, you may be able to hear Enzi's call from all throughout Wild Africa. Across from the Chai Pride Plaza is a simple grassy yard that was actually added a few years earlier in 2013. and is home to one of the zoo's most special residents, Al the Aldabra giant tortoise. Al, who has been at Binder Park since 1984, is estimated to be around 85 years old, which, believe it or not, is only around middle age for his species. In recent years, Al has made trips to both the Brookfield Zoo and Michigan State University to receive treatment for a recurring foot infection. The zoo states that, like everything else they do, tortoises heal slowly, but reports that Al is doing well and showing signs of improving. Back on the boardwalk, some peepholes built into the fencing give a teasing view of one of the trail's final habitats. But first, let's take a quick detour into Monkey Valley, a wraparound habitat that features two kinds of African primates. First, there's the Black-crested Mangabey, who, like the red caps we saw earlier, are a rarity to come across in American parks. Black-crested Mangabeys are highly social primates, living in troops that consist of multiple males and females. They are considered to be a friendlier species, with home ranges sometimes overlapping with neighboring troops. These monkeys play an important role in seed dispersal in their native forest, partially due to their habit of discarding half-eaten pieces of fruit. As of 2018, the IUCN lists the Black-crested Mangabey as vulnerable, citing concerns over deforestation and hunting. Their roommates are a family of the more commonly displayed eastern black and white Colobus. Mother Nairobi and father Usi live with their 2-year-old son Freddie, as well as little Viazi, born on June 26, 2022. Her name is a Swahili word that means potato, which are her mom's favorite snack. As you can see, Colobus monkeys are born all white and don't begin to develop their darker coloration until about 3 months old. This brighter coloration is believed to help them stick out and alert other members of the troop that there is a new arrival, in order to help encourage a practice called alloparenting, in which other members of the group help raise the baby. A practice that Freddie is excellently demonstrating here as he heroically saves Viazi from wandering off the platform. Back on the main trail, here's a better look at the exhibit I teased earlier. This spacious forest home was first briefly home to bongos, then came black duikers and both black and saddle-billed storks. However, since 2010, this has been the rooting grounds of the red river hog, one of the best and largest habitats around for this species. These omnivorous wild pigs can be found ranging across West and Central Africa in the Congo region. They spend most of their day rooting around the forest floor, feeding primarily on roots and tubers, which they can cut using their sharp tusks. However, living up to the pig reputation, they are not picky eaters, and have also been known to dine on eggs, insects, reptiles, and even small mammals. They have been observed following chimpanzee troops along with other species, picking up the leftovers that fall to the ground. Moving further down the boardwalk, we arrive at the large forest aviary, which used to be home to a number of smaller African birds like the trumpeter hornbill, superb starling, and violet turaco. However, a couple seasons ago, the top cover was removed. For a summer, it housed the zoo's pair of Marabou Storks, and most recently, it was home to a single, very vocal, black-crowned crane. In the past, at this point, you would have continued straight through the Almasi gold mine to the Forest Farm, an imitation of a family farm in Africa which housed domestic types like Watusi and Zebu cattle, as well as the noisy Kenyan crested guinea fowl. However, that area is currently under renovation, so instead you're backtracked onto the same boardwalk on which we began our journey until you arrive back in the African Village Plaza. And that brings us to the conclusion of the final episode of Exhibit Tours for 2022. To paraphrase the words of former zoo director Greg Geist, the valley and forest were already there. We just had to not mess it up. And that, I think, is the key to what makes Wild Africa stand out compared to other African complexes. There's no fake rock here, but instead habitats were built that skillfully took advantage of the existing natural landscape. The result was a world-class exhibit that doubled the zoo's attendance and helped skyrocket the zoo's contribution to conservation efforts. I couldn't be happier to be ending my first year of videos showing you the best of my home zoo, and the complex that I believe more than any other inspired my lifelong love of zoos. That being said, there will be one more special edition of Derek's Zoo videos coming next week. Thank you for watching.